morning all. Today I am going to talk about 5th semester paper 5, that is abnormal psychology, and that unit 1 session 1. Paper 5, 5th semester paper 5 talks about psychological disorder. So what are the disorders related to psychology? That is, call it as a psychological disorder, and that we have to talk about definition of abnormal psychology and elements or indicators of abnormality. According to abnormal psychology, what is the mean of abnormality is important. So these are the elements related to abnormality. What are the elements or indicators related to abnormality is important. What is the learning objective? So once you learn the abnormality and elements of abnormality, you can understand what is the concept of abnormality. What is the difference between normality and abnormality? What is the difference between normal behavior and abnormal behavior? You have to understood at the end of the session. This is a learning objective. So what is the session outcomes? Session, as I told you, you have to identify and understand the concept of normality and abnormality, and you should know what are the different elements, different factors or different indicators related to the abnormality. So this is comes under session outcomes. So prerequisites, what is your prerequisite about abnormal? So as you know, abnormal psychology is a branch of psychology. As you know, it is a applied branch of psychology. So you can understand the normal behavior and abnormal behavior of the individual. You can differentiate what is the difference between normal and abnormal, and what are the indicators, different indicators related to the abnormal behavior. So these are all comes under prerequisites. So coming to the introduction of abnormal psychology. Before going to the abnormal psychology, we should generalize some of the factors related to the abnormal psychology. So what is psychology? Psychology, which is nothing but it is a scientific study of human behavior. It is known as a psychology. So we all are knew about this definition. So according to this, the abnormal psychology is a branch of psychology. So we need to apply the general principles and theories of the psychology to abnormal psychology. So it is a branch of psychology. Abnormal psychology concerned with understanding the nature, causes and treatment of the mental disorder. So what is the nature of mental disorder? How it will occur? In what way it is going to cause us? What are the causes? It may be biological, it may be sociological, it may be psychological. What are the causes related to the mental disorder also important? And what is the treatment? What is the psychological therapies and treatment we are going to give to the that particular mental disorder? It is important. So this is the general information regarding to the abnormal psychology. We can go to the introduction part of the abnormal psychology. Before going to the introduction part, we should know about what is the history of abnormal psychology. As we all know, it is in ancient time, it is considered as a abnormal behavior to divine or supernatural behavior. So if any person got abnormal behavior, we can call it as it is a supernatural. That people has two supernatural force, supernatural power, or it is related to some of the divine. Some myths and myths are there in ancient period. Next, come to the Greek physician and Hippocrates. Galen said that abnormal behavior reflected to the natural causes. So it is comes under natural causes. Emil Kraepelin, he is also developed the two concept of abnormality, and according to his viewpoint, he talks about developed a classification system of mental disorder. This is a precursor to the DSM. Based on DSM, the DSM also developed based on this classification of mental disorder. The second one, he divided into classified psychosis into two forms, that is manic depression and dementia precox. So these are the two division or classification of mental disorder. According to this, the abnormal psychology will grow up day by day. So finally, it is considered as a branch of psychology, and we have to study the abnormal psychology for study the nature, causes and treatment of the mental disorder. This is a basic introduction of abnormal psychology. So we can come further. Definition of abnormal psychology. What is the definition of abnormal psychology? What do you mean by abnormal psychology? Abnormal psychology is a branch of psychology that studies unusual patterns of behavior, emotion, thought, which may or may not be understood, precipitating a mental disorder. So, what is this unusual patterns of behavior? It is not a visual, it is not a common behavior. It is unusual behavior, unusual emotion, unusual patterns of the emotions, unusual patterns of thought, which may or may not be understood as a precipitating a mental disorder. This unusual pattern of behavior, we can call it as a abnormal psychology. And scientifically, according to abnormal psychology, what is abnormal psychology? As we know, away from the normal. In general, it is says that away from the normal, we can call it as a abnormal psychology. Except that, one more definition we have, that is a precise definition of abnormality remains elusive according to DSM-4. What is abnormal psychology? So, elements that can be helpful in considering whether something is abnormal include suffering, maladaptiveness, statistical deviancy, dangerousness, violation of societal norms, irrationality, and unpredictability. So these are the elements of abnormal psychology. If these are the factors related to any individual behavior, we can consider as a abnormality. So this is the general definition of abnormal psychology according to DSM-4. So these are the indicators. If person have these are the indicators, we can consider the person has abnormality. So this is the major definition of abnormal psychology. So we are now understood what is abnormal. As I told you, this have many elements or indicators. This is related to abnormal psychology. When coming to the away from the normal, we can call it also abnormal psychology. So what are the elements or indicators when we have to say the individual or person has abnormality? So some of the elements or indicators related to the abnormality. What are those? We can be divided into 7 subcategory. The first one is suffering, maladaptiveness, statistical deviancy, violation of the standards of society, social discomfort, irrationality and unpredictability, dangerousness. So these are the elements related to the abnormality. We can go by one by one. What is suffering? If people suffer or experience psychological pain, we are inclined to consider this as indicative of abnormality. So if the person has psychological pain or he is suffering from any of the disorder, it is comes under abnormality. The second indicator talks about maladaptiveness. What is maladaptiveness? When will we say maladaptiveness? If we adjust to the society, that is considered as a normal behavior. If we do not adjust to the society or we do not adjust to the particular moment or situation, that comes under maladaptive behavior. So according to this, maladaptive behavior is often an indicator of abnormality, and maladaptive behavior interferes with our well-being and with our ability to enjoy our work and relationship. If the adaptiveness is a cope with the situation, maladaptiveness, it is not cope with the situation. We should not enjoy our day-to-day life. If the person has maladaptiveness, he should not enjoy with day-to-day life. This is the second indicator of abnormality. The third one, statistical deviancy. In normal probability curve, we can call it as a 9 to 110 is a average intelligence level. So above 110 or above 115, we can call it as a genius. Above average intelligence, above 120 or 125, you can call it as a genius. So below 90 to 80 are below average intelligence. So within or below 780 or 75, we can consider as the individual has abnormality according to normal probability curve. So statistical deviance, which is statistically rare and represent a deviation from normal, is considered to reflect the abnormality. As I told you, the normal probability curve indicates the statistical average, above average, below average, and intellectually disability or abnormality of the individual. So this is the statistical criteria. The fourth one talk about violation of the standards of society. So the individual, if the individual violate the societal rules and norms or fail to follow the particular rules and regulation, which can be considered as a violation of the standards of the society. So you should all know, you have to remember this. If the person is violation of the standards of the society, that can be considered as a abnormality. The fifth one talks about social comfort. When someone violates a social rule, those around him or her may experience a sense of discomfort or unease. As you know, if I violate the rules, definitely it will lead to the uneasiness or discomfortable. The individual, if they violate the rule, he always has in uneasiness or discomfortness. So this is the next criteria. The sixth one talks about irrationality and unpredictability. The person has irrational behavior and unpredictable behavior. So means a little unconventionality may add some spice to life. There is a point at which we are likely to consider given unorthodox behavior abnormal. So if the person has unpredictable behavior, that also leads to the abnormality. The last one talks about dangerousness. It seems quite reasonable to think that someone who is a danger to him or herself or to another person must be psychologically abnormal. If the individual harms himself or others, that also counted as a abnormal of the behavior. So these are the 7 indicators related to the abnormality. So today we learned about what is abnormal and what is the difference between normality and abnormality, and what is the indicators or elements related to the abnormality. So this is very important in session 1. We can summarize the session. Abnormal psychology is deals with understanding nature, causes and treatment of mental disorder. Elements that can be helpful in considering whether something is abnormal or normal. Definitions and elements of abnormal psychology. So we have to learn these are the points in today's session. So coming to the last interaction session, that is, so as you know, all of you should understand what is abnormality and importance of mental disorder. So we can go for the MCQ question. Psychology is a study of the human behavior. According to your viewpoint, it is true or false? If it is true, that is right answer. Abnormal psychology means away from the normal. It is a true answer. If people suffer or experience psychological pain, we are inclined to consider this as indicative of known abnormality known as suffering. If persons statistically rare and represent a deviation from normal, is considered to reflect abnormality known as statistical deviancy. It is a true answer. Elements that cannot be helpful in considering whether something is abnormal. It is a true or false? Yes, it is a false. So this is the reference section I had given to you. Thank you, one and all. Thank you all.